back to my channel. In today's video, I am making a couple of birthday cards. I have here 2 panels of HAMMERMILL cardstock that I have gone ahead and heat embossed with background stamps. These are the 2 background stamps I'm using today. One is the Chevron pattern from Simon Says Stamp, and the other one is Love Is from Simon Says Stamp. Any background stamp or stencil that you have will work. I'm doing some Emboss Resist. This is Recollections Snow Embossing Powder. It is white. I was going to do clear, but my stamps were dirty. And so I chose to switch it up and do white so that I could get that heat emboss resist. So I did treat those with my anti-static powder tool and heat emboss those with VERSAMARK ink and my Simon Says Stamp anti-static tool. I did have a couple spots that were they weren't as crisp as I would have liked, but they were okay. I ended up covering them up or cutting them off, so we were good. To stamp this is the birthday mail stamp and die set from Simon Says Stamp, and to stamp that out, I used Gina K's Obsidian Amalgum ink because I figured I was going to do some very quick and dirty Copic or alcohol marker coloring. One of my sentiments comes from this Gracious Peonies Altenew set, and that is just the wishes. I was trying to find something that the scale would work and the font would work. These fonts are not exactly the same, but I felt like they were okay. To do my ink blending, I'm going to use a bunch of Gina K ink cubes today. I've got essentially a rainbow, so I'm going to do warm colors on one panel and cool colors on another. And I just have a rainbow here. I will list them below on what colors I'm using. These are blending brushes I got off of Amazon. I've been super pleased with them. I have 2 different sets. One set I use for my oxide inks, and the other one I use for dye inks. So they're very comfortable, and they lock into this little carrier so you don't get ink everywhere and they don't get dirty. And when they lock in there, they barely, just barely hang above, excuse my very sad manicure. They barely hang just above that holder there so that the holder itself doesn't get dirty either. The entire thing measures about 2 3/4 inches circle, radius, diameter, that's the one I'm looking for. And then the actual brush is about 2 1/4. So it's a really good size. It fits in my hand really nice. You can hold it in different ways. I like that it locks. And I have, like I said, 2 different sets. I did have to order like 4 black ones just because I didn't have any, this particular set didn't have like a gray or a brown or a black. And I do have those colors in inks, obviously. So I did go ahead and order some from a different company in black. They're very soft. The bristles are very tightly gathered together, and they're flat. So they make ink blending super, super fast. So I'm going to start off with the warm panel first. And I think this was Coral Reef, Wild, Dandelion, and something else. I can picture it in the drawer that I pull them out of. Like I said, I will list them below. I'm just going to ink blend about 1/3 of the way. In order to get really good seamless blends, it's important to overlap your colors. That way you can get really pretty seamless blends. I'm not doing anything fancy here, so I sped this part of the video up since it does get a little bit monotonous. But like I said, I'm just making sure that I have a decent area of overlapping, and these brushes, because they are bigger and they have that flat surface, they really do ink blend very quickly. So this is the warm one. I was pleased with this blend. I'm going to put those away aside. But before I do that, since we have that white embossing powder, I just took a dry paper towel and buffed off some of that ink that was sitting on top of that embossing. If you find that that isn't doing quite as good a job as you need it to, then you can actually just get it very, very lightly damp, and get the excess ink off that way. Just be cautious because these inks are water reactive and you don't want to start moving your inks around unless that's the look that you're going for. That is a look, but that was not the look I was going for today. So this is the cooler tone one. This was, I can't even remember, Wild Lilac, and again, I'll list them below. So once I was happy with this, I do the same thing, I buff it off, and then I am all set for the next step. I went to my artist markers from Altenew and picked out colors that I felt matched my backgrounds very, very closely. And I am going to do very simple coloring here. Nothing fancy. I'm not doing any blending. I thought about incorporating other colors so I could color the background of these images. I thought about doing another color so that I could color like the stamped border, the like actual like postage stamp border. I just chose to keep this very, very simple. I used the bullet nib just because these are kind of smaller areas and I wanted to be able to get into those a little easier. But again, just very simple, very fast coloring, no fancy ink blending. When that was done, I took the coordinating die for the birthday and the actual stamp images and cut those out. And then I took some scissors and just fussy cut out the wishes. That Gracious Peonies set does not have a coordinating die, or at least I do not possess the coordinating die. If I was doing a lot of the stamping and wanting to cut that out, I would probably take it to my brother's Scan and Cut and have it cut it out, but 2 wasn't worth the hassle. One thing that I did notice, and I didn't realize, is that the 2 bigger images are stuck together, and then the 3 smaller ones are a different image stuck together. So it is very simple to just snip those apart and make all of them separate. Although if you wanted to keep them together like they are, that is a look that you could absolutely accomplish. Off camera, I fitzed and fuddled until I was somewhat happy with the layout of these images. I took some Amazon foam tape and added that to the back of the sentiments and promptly dropped them and shifted things around, but it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and adhere these images down flat. The one that you're seeing on the left, that is not how I end up laying out those stamps, and you will see that in the finished card that I ended up changing that around. The only thing that has popped up is the birthday wishes sentiment. Everything else is glued down flat, including the colored panels. I did take those off screen and cut those down a little bit. When I initially did them, they measured 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I wanted to have a little bit more of a border there. So I did go back and cut about a 1/2 inch off of each side, just off of 2 sides, excuse me, so that I could get a little 1/4 inch border on each side and get that kind of frame. Like I said, I just glued all of these images down flat except for the sentiment, and that is actually popped up on that foam tape. Once that was done, it was time for finishing touches. I'm taking a Spectrum Noir clear glitter brush pen and adding some sparkle to just certain areas of these images. The bows, the candle flames, the balloons, the party hat, the bow on the big present, and I did that on each of these images. I was making sure that I didn't have any color on these markers before I went to the other one because these colors are all like complementary and they would have made brown. So I did make sure that I wasn't transferring any of the color. And then we're going to add just a little bit more sparkle with some embellishments. These embellishments, I believe, are from Tailored Expressions. They're kind of like jelly sparkles. They look like jelly to me. They're hard, but they just look kind of jelly-like to me. And so I put a little bit of those kind of in where I felt like I had some gaps just to kind of bring everything together. I'm going to use my little jewel picker that I got from Amazon forevers ago and just adhere that down with little dabs of reptile glue as my glue of choice. And then these cards will be complete. So I appreciate you spending time with me. I hope you felt inspired to make some birthday cards and just have a play with your stash and play with some ink blending. So until then, I hope you have a great day and we will see you next time. Bye.